Here we go. Magic.
Here we are. So I'm Christine, and the other person there is Julia Mauis. Many of you know as well. We co-founded this program. It actually stands for something, guiding researchers and advocates to scientific partnerships. And again, as I mentioned, it's sort of the idea behind it, the main idea behind it is we wanted to bring researchers and advocates together. We find that well, first of all, advocates in general are just not well represented in that research process. A lot of times we're kind of an afterthought, like, oh, I would like an advocate to write a letter of support for me in my grant. We want to change that. We want to make sure that the advocate's involved way before that letter and that they actually have, a say in how the research is designed, how the research is conducted, and sometimes even what you're researching. So it came out of a need to create more opportunities where researchers and advocates can come together. And, Sandy Stanford is on this call. The Alamo Foundation does a wonderful job at San Antonio with the hot topics sessions where we actually have researchers that will kind of break down the highlights from the conference and advocates get to ask questions. So a lot of this program, it came from several other programs, just kind of took like the wonderful parts of each one, and we kind of tried to make it, and we wanted something that was patient-led. We wanted something that was created by actual patients. So you can go to the next slide. You might see a familiar face there.
I love the photo.
So this is actually, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get my years mixed up because I can't believe it's 2021. So this is 2019, pre-corona, obviously. This is at ASCO. And so on the left, you see Kelly and me. We were wandering the posters together, and the person who actually took that picture is Dr. Corey Painter, who heads up the Count Me In initiative, and a part of that is the Metastatic Breast Cancer Project, and they have a few others, prostate and sarcoma, and I think actually brain as well. So Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Stomach and esophageal as well.
And esophageal. Oh, that's great. I think I knew that. So so Corey took that picture, and I consider myself to be a pretty big nerd. I had like a list of all the posters that I wanted to see, and ASCO is like intense. I mean, San Antonio is intense, but there are so many posters. I mean, you can't even tell from this picture, but like literally like could not move between how many, I mean, there were just so many people, so many posters. It's very overwhelming. But I had gone through and I had a whole list of posters that I wanted to see. And Corey was like, can I tag along? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. I mean, she's a cancer researcher. She's a scientist. I was kind of excited to have her with me so I could ask her questions. And we did this little walkthrough together, very impromptu, not, nothing, like it was not planned at all. We just kind of ran into each other, and it was great because I was teaching her things, she was teaching me things. And I felt like after that, Corey and I were talking. I'm pretty sure we had a conversation in the hallway with Stacy. I know we have a picture of me and Julia and Stacy and Kelly and Corey, and we were just kind of like talking. And I don't know if you guys find this at conferences, that like a lot of the most important, valuable parts of the conference for me are like those random impromptu conversations that you have with other advocates in between sessions. So like, I feel like that's where all the good ideas come from. Like that's the good stuff. And we're missing that now in the pandemic. It's a really like, there's a lot of silver linings, believe it or not, to the pandemic and doing things virtually. But that's one thing I think we're missing, are those like hallway conversations. So I'm pretty sure that prompted the idea. And Julia is a social media master, and she's really great on Twitter. I am not. And I said, I want to make a tweet. I want to craft a tweet about what we just did and see if there's any interest in maybe doing some kind of a poster walkthrough, like with scientists and advocates. And we got such a great response that that people were asking how they could sign up for the program, thinking it was already a program. This is cool, I want to sign up. And we were like, there's no program. So I think we actually like accosted Sandy Stanford at that Patient Advocate Lounge. And we were like, Sandy, the next big conference is San Antonio. We want to do this. And can we do this? And she was like, yes, we can do it. And it was amazing to have, you get a lot of no's when you have ideas. And sometimes when you have ideas that are a little bit different from the traditional. And it was so awesome to have Sandy just be like, yeah, like just let's get a proposal together. Let's do it. And so you can go to the next slide, Stacy. So basically Julia and I and Corey and Kelly and a few other people, like we worked all summer. We had like the whole summer and we were like, okay, let's just create, you know, let's, how would we want this to work? And I have to say that Corey was so helpful in making me and Julia, all of the advocates, realize our value, because we kept kind of going back to like, we had this structure where the scientist was kind of the main event and the big, you know, the person in charge and the person running things. And Corey kept saying like, no, it should be the advocates. The advocates should be running this. And we were like, okay, so what we decided to do, which we modeled from other programs, was we wanted to have one patient advocate mentor and one scientist. And that can be a clinician, a researcher, oncologist. It doesn't matter as long as they have a science background. And then we were going to have only 2 to 3 patients. We say advocates collectively. That can be a patient, that can be a caregiver, anybody who's maybe at a conference that's interested in learning about a scientific poster. And then, and we wanted to keep it small. And people often don't believe me when I say this, but I truly am an introvert. And the idea of like walking up to an oncologist, like in a group, big room, and like even the hot topic sessions, like I am not going to be up there. I do not like to take the mic and ask questions. Like that is not my style. I much more prefer like a small, intimate setting where we all feel comfortable and we can, you know, we really can ask questions without feeling afraid or like nervous that we're going to look dumb in front of a lot of people. So it was really, I really pushed for this small group. I really wanted to keep it very small and intimate. And then the other thing we pushed for was not to have like a list of 10 posters to run through. It's quality, not quantity. So we said, we're only going to assign like 1 or 2 posters. And if you get through that, that's fine. You can keep going. But you know, the goal here is not, you know, we do not want you to just rush through posters. That wasn't the point of it. And it was funny because we did get a lot of pushback with that. We had a lot of pushback from not only advocates, but a lot of the clinicians were like, you know, there should be more posters and I need to get them ahead of time. And what we really focused on, the funny thing is it was just me and Julia really doing this by the end, and we were exhausted. And so like people were asking for the posters and I was like, yeah, we don't have them. We don't have them yet because I haven't put them, I haven't picked them yet. So no, you're not going to get them. But we kind of framed it as, well, this is part of the process. Like you're going to feel as uncomfortable as advocates do walking into a large convention center with all these posters. You have a PhD, I'm pretty sure you can handle it. Like you're going to be okay. So I just encourage people who are like, especially if you consider yourself new, like just keep going. Like, wait, just don't worry about the no's, just keep going. Luckily we had it pretty easy with Sandy. She was like pretty much on our side. And we proposed, which is hilarious. We proposed, I've gone back and looked at the proposal, Sandy. We said 12 people. We said, we'll do a pilot program of 12 people. And we were going to have, you know, two posters was going to be 12, which I think was going to be 2 groups, you know, with the patient advocate, the scientist, and then the other advocates. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see what it actually was, which this was our pilot program at GRASS. We actually had 95 participants. And it was even more, we actually had like 117. I think we'll see the stats a little bit later, but clearly we exceeded what we thought we were going to have. We got a $20,000 donation without even really trying. And I'm not bragging. What I'm saying is that like, there was such a need for this. And it was like, people were hungry for this. And it wasn't just advocates. We thought maybe we would have trouble recruiting scientists, but I don't know if you guys I don't know if you recognize some of the people in these pictures. On the left is my oncologist, Vered Stearns at Hopkins. In the middle here, we've got, you can see Patty, she's there, Dr. Erica Hamilton.
And we picked up an oncologist. Notice.
Oh, yeah. It's just, it was amazing. Like it was Dr. Deb Lucho.
Erica wasn't supposed to be in it, but she wanted to, so she joined us.
Yeah. So it was like, it just went way beyond our expectations. We really didn't know. We just didn't know that there was going to be such a need for it. We thought people were going to walk away saying like, yay, science is pretty cool. But like I had people in tears, like just having access to an oncology. I mean, we had one poster, it was the author was, her name is Bhuvana Ramaswamy, and she's at OSU. She's like I think she's the head of breast oncology at OSU. And she herself is a metastatic breast cancer patient. So she's an oncologist and she's a breast cancer patient. And she presented a poster basically about creating a clinic that's focused only on metastatic. And there were women like advocates that came and spoke to her, and they just had no idea that you could do that. They had no, and these are Black women, and they were just so excited to know that there could be a clinic that maybe just focuses on metastatic disease or focuses on Black women in underserved communities. And it was just really special. I mean, it went way above our expectations. So we kind of had to work backwards. Exactly. Thank you, Stacy. You can go to the next one. You heard my cue. So we kind of had to work backwards and say, okay, now we actually need like a business model. We need to like, now we have a need, we know people want this. And we also felt, I mean, I feel very strongly, sorry, I'm turning off my heater. My father died of rhabdomyosarcoma, and that was over 10 years ago. And, we had nothing. We had no treatments. We had no advocates. We never met another sarcoma patient. I think we had a pediatric oncologist who was treating him because it's only common in children under the age of 5. We had nothing. And so one of the things I bring to my advocacy always is like, once I was diagnosed with breast cancer and seeing all of the support that we had and all of the opportunities for advocacy, I felt very strongly that I kind of want to spread the wealth. So one of the things that we hope to do is we want to expand this to other cancers besides breast cancer. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that was one thing, the first thing we thought of when we talked about growing is we want to expand this to we want to make sure any conference that's conducting research that affects patients, those patients should be involved. They should be a part of that discussion. And I know that there's some conferences where they don't even have, I think some of the hematological cancers, they don't even have, there's no advocates do not go to the conferences, like it doesn't even exist. So we learned a lot in this process. And I think we've learned what we have as breast cancer based, like it sucks, it's a crappy diagnosis, but I'm very grateful for the support that we have in terms of not only just advocacy, but awareness and research and all that stuff. So we kind of had to work backwards. You can go back to the philosophy one really quick. We had to work backwards and say, what is our philosophy? What do we want to accomplish? So we basically, our whole mission is to add value to cancer research, to improve outcomes for patients. We see patients as experts, not just somebody who's there to learn from a scientist. They're definitely an equal partner. We think it's great for scientists because it not only does it actually help with burnout, because I think they actually enjoy those interactions with patients and learning from patients, but it helps them communicate better with a broader audience, and it creates a sense of urgency. And for patients, we get to learn. We get to actually learn about the disease that we have, and it does research brings hope to patients. So you can go ahead to the next one. This is our vision. We wanted to make sure that we include non-breast cancer patients. We want to shift to a more patient-inclusive research paradigm. And like the ultimate goal, and I talked about this with many oncologists and researchers. It was funny because it's really different when you're dealing with people who've been through med school. Like, it's just not that common to like involve patients in research. And I remember having a chat with, his name is Dr. Isaac Chan. He was a fellow at Hopkins. He's now at Texas. And he and I talked for hours about GRASP. And I had to really like explain to him why it was important to involve patients. And the thing that finally got the thing that actually made him listen is I said, I think we can produce more fundable research. If we're producing better research that's got better outcomes for patients and it's more impactful for patients, it's going to be more fundable. And that definitely caught his attention. So you can go to the next slide. So we decided we were going to make this, we're not actually a nonprofit yet. We're kind of working on it. I think we're going to end up doing a fiscal sponsor first. But we want to become something eventually, and we want to serve cancer researchers, and that can include a clinician or a scientist and advocates. So that can be a patient or a caregiver. You can go to the next slide. And what we offer are these poster walkthroughs. And, we had to kind of adjust pretty quickly. We did San Antonio in person, and then in March we had COVID, and all of a sudden we had to like move everything virtually. And so we did do ASCO. We did do a virtual ASCO GRASP. And it was challenging. I mean, in person was challenging as well, but the technological difficulties are very challenging. But one of the things, the reason when I mentioned the silver lining, we think it's really important. I think we're going to always do a virtual component to each conference now, even when we resume the in-person, because we're able to reach people that, otherwise can't travel to a conference. So that was a very valuable lesson that we learned. And I think we'll do both in-person and virtual in the future. We also offer these e-GRASPs, which can be, It's just a discussion. Again, we keep it small, we keep it intimate. We want to make sure that the patients have plenty of time to talk. I mean, what we encourage with the GRASPs is that they interrupt the scientists, and we make sure that they are explaining things well in human language, not medical school language, but in language in layman terms that we actually understand. So the virtual discussions can be patient-led. That can be something. We've had patients on Twitter who said, I really want to learn more about the SEER database. And so we did one on the SEER database. And I know we've had several others kind of sprinkled in between the conferences, because, you know, the science doesn't stop when you don't have a conference. So we try to do those in between. And then the ultimate goal is to have a registry of advocates and researchers. And so I think this would actually be more valuable for researchers, because a lot of times researchers do have trouble finding advocates. And this would be a way, you know, for them, if they were looking for somebody with inflammatory breast cancer and stage 4 and who lived in the South, like this is something we want to be able to offer that to researchers to help, you know, facilitate these connections. You know, the next one. I don't know how much time I have, Stacey. I'm probably going way over. So just tell me to stop talking.
No, you're fine. It's just, I do want to make sure that there's room for questions, and we're 15 minutes before. So keep going, and
I'll just do another 5 minutes because these are quick. These are stats. So this was SABCS, the first program that we had, and we had 117 participants. We were very proud of this, that 34% of the participants were people of color. With that donation that we received, we sent 12 patient advocates to San Antonio, and 11 of the 12 were African American. So we were very proud of that. And 80% of the advocates reported an increase in their confidence in walking through poster sessions. And of all the scientists surveyed, we had 100% recommend GRAS, who said they would recommend GRAS to a colleague. You can go to the next slide. So then we did GRASP at ASCO. And like I said, this was the virtual. We did have a successful transition. We only had 75 participants over 4 separate days. And we had an even higher number of people of color, 43%. We broke that down to show that it was we still have a lot of work to do with so I'm glad that Barbara's on the call. I'm like, we still need to recruit more Hispanic, not just advocates. We want to recruit scientists, people of color as well. Like that's important for us as well. So, and we did have 7 cancers represented at ASCO. So that was great, but we're hoping to have a lot more. We really are hoping, now that we've kind of figured out the whole virtual Zoom format, and we have a new website where you can register, we're hoping to really increase that for this next round at ASCO. And then we did Teresas Research has an annual meeting. It is very science focused. Like this is a very heavy science heavy conference. And it was our first time where we only had researchers, and it was awesome. I have to say, the oncologists are great. I love many of the oncologists, but they are not as comfortable with the research as the researchers are. It's funny because the researchers were just like, they could get a poster that they'd never seen before in their life, and they were like, that's great, that's fine, we can talk about it. Oncologists really wanted to, they seemed to be a little bit more concerned about how they could explain the science and was it going to be okay. And so this was a really interesting, and this was tough. The researchers had a tough job. They really had to break down the science for the advocates. And it was small. We only had 32 participants. And what we did was we actually allowed for 2 hours, and it was only because of the way the conference, the whatever it's called, the platform that was used required, you couldn't do like an hour and a half, you had to do 2 hours. So we just said, we'll do 2 hours and we'll just end early. Took the full 2 hours, and nobody felt I think Stacey, I think you might have, are you in that picture? You might be, but a lot of people were like, it flew by. They had no, the first part of we asked that the advocates introduce themselves to the scientists, and we asked people, we don't record the sessions because what we really want are people to just feel confident and comfortable maybe sharing their story. Maybe it's an important part. A lot of times, like when Rod participated at SABCS, I gave him all the male breast cancer posters. And I remember you walking up to a poster author, and you guys all introduced yourselves. And then I stopped and I said, Rod actually has male breast cancer. Have you ever met a male breast cancer patient? And he was like, no. And he was like, and I'm like, and you might not ever again, because they're not that common. So, we asked people to share their stories, and this was a really successful conference. So yes, 100% of the advocates said they'd recommend GRAS. and nearly 100% of the participants liked the 2-hour time frame. So that was great. You can go ahead, Stacey, that's good. And then this was just recently. We just had SABCS 20. That's why I'm exhausted. I'm still recovering from this. We had 178 participants total. And we say it's kind of confusing because people can go to more than one. So like individuals, we had 141, 178 total, and we had 38 groups, which is quite a lot. And we did this over, I think it was over 2 days. And we did one thing a little bit differently where we had a focus. We had a few groups that were focused on lobular cancer. So we did kind of a collaboration with the Lobular Breast Cancer Alliance. And I know Lee was one of our mentors for the lobular, and I think Sue was also one of the advocates that got to participate. And that was really cool. Like, I think we're going to do that again, especially for these cancers like, like inflammatory male breast cancer. I mean, where they don't get a whole lot of attention. It's like, it'd be great to have this like one focus group. And that worked really well. So I think we'll probably do that again. And you can go to the next slide. Oh, Lee, were you going to say something? No?
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's great. I thought I was muted.
And Steffi is just such a great, Steffi Osterreich is just like a huge supporter of GRASP. We just did a talk with her, she has an advocacy group that she works with at Pittsburgh, and she just loves it. She just thinks it's the best thing. So it's just really nice. And Adrian Lee, her husband, also did, we had them do a GRASP, and it was really great. It was nice to have them. So we have some alliances and partnerships with different nonprofits, as well as pharma, and we have spoken to FDA, and a lot of the FDA oncologists participated at the San Antonio, the in-person one in 2019. And so we're hoping to expand that a little bit more to the partnership that we have with them. You can go to the next one. I forget what else is there. Okay, so here's what's coming up. So our next one, I keep forgetting it's 2021. When I see that, it just sounds like a ridiculous year. So we have ASCO coming up. So I definitely encourage people, if you're interested, that's going to cover more than breast cancer. And you can go to our website, it's graspcancer.org, and you just sign up. Like, you'll just sign up to like a mailing list, just kind of like what Stacey has, and we'll send you information about upcoming events. We'll also probably do Teresas Research again. I think that one is actually, if we are going to resume in person, that will be in Salt Lake City. And then we were supposed to do the Metastasis Research Society has a conference in Buenos Aires. We were supposed to go last year. It got canceled. So we were hoping that we'll get to go this year, but it's November and I have no idea if that's going to happen. But we will probably do it virtually if we can. If they decide to do it virtually, we will as well. There's the website. And yeah, so if anybody, and if anybody who's actually participated wants to add anything, like very informal, I'm always very informal, and that's how GRASP works. And I call all the doctors by their first names. And I say, we all appreciate that you got a doctorate degree, but like we want to level the playing field here. And when you're like, Dr. So-and-so, it's so formal. So we try to keep it, real. They're people too. They have first names, we can use them.
So for anybody who's not in the breast cancer realm, every time Christine referred to San Antonio, it's actually a conference. The San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium is every year in December in San Antonio. So sorry if
please, it's fine.
So yeah, thank you for that. I'm obviously a fan of GRASP, and I would love to see them be able to expand outside of breast cancer. And I know that, ASCO is coming up. Maybe some of you have participated. Maybe some of you have forgotten you've participated. But it's okay, Terry. We didn't get that on the video. But
You're lying.
more than anything, I wanted everybody to be able to see that this is two things for me. One, this was completely patient created. This was Christine and Julia, and we sat on the floor outside of the ASCO Advocate Lounge talking about, wow, this could really be something. But everybody who made it happen was actually a patient advocate. And so one, for the newer advocates, I want you to know that that's totally possible. And two, it's something that has flipped the narrative and flipped the script on how science is delivered, right? We're very used to clinicians and researchers stage on a stage, let me tell you all of the things that you want to know. And this is actually really the reverse. It's not just the dialogue. It starts with the advocate, and it says, let me tell you why I'm here, why cancer is important to me, because, oh yeah, it was probably in my body. And both parties get to learn, or all the parties get to learn. So one, hopefully you guys will be interested and maybe want to participate, or two, in your own cancer groups and circles, can see that really flipping this script is possible.
I have two comments. First, I congratulate Julie, especially for this virtual thing. They did this cool thing and trying to organize people and what they wanted and what the mentor wanted and what the researcher did. These ladies maybe never slept, but anyway, it was so cool. And I was privileged enough to be one of the mentors. And first off, I think the program is very good because usually in these meetings, and I've been going for many years, the posters have so much information, but it's overwhelming. Sometimes you don't even know where to start, what to look at, or whatever. So having the chance to maybe sit back, look, and have somebody share and talk, it's great. So I think from the conference, I think posters are the less attractive because you don't know where to start. So I think that's a great way for you guys to go. And second, my experience in the one that I mentored, the researcher and especially the poster presenter was there. And this lady was taking notes of the recommendations and questions that advocates were doing. And she was, oh, that's great. I think I should do this and that. So there, I can understand how they say they're learning more from us. So I just wanted to make those two comments.
And Barbara's so awesome because we had so many people complaining about the website and it took so long to do and it took forever. And Barbara was like, this is so amazing. I'm just like, thank you so much. So it was just like, it just meant so much, just like a little compliment. It just went a long way because
those are people that never even do a birthday celebration.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was like, it took a lot of work to get all this up here, but yeah, I'm very happy. I'm glad that it worked out, even though we didn't sleep.
Worked out really well. I feel like as you were talking, it's such a great presentation because you have so much good data that you need to go on the road. So I'm like, okay, when can I invite Christine online to give? Because it's so easy, right? Through Zoom, yep. You can reach so many. So I think we should look out to the groups that we're in and saying, can you come and give a guest talk at my patient advocate committee meeting at the Alliance, for example? Yeah. I mean, something like that would be really nice, just to do something different and get the word out. And that's all different cancers, right? So
yes, it's all cancer. And
I think we need to get it out to all different cancers. I also wanted to ask you, so I went to a really unique Christmas party online. Chuck Peru's Christmas party. They did Gather Town.
Oh, I don't know.
Have you heard of that?
No.
And you get the little avatar and you run around and there's little tables, their karaoke thing. And then they had like a place where you could go and fill out a thing. And everybody was saying this would be great for poster sessions, like, because it was really weird because you go in and as you're walking near someone, as you get near, you can see their picture pop up and you can hear their conversation. But if you walk away, you don't. So you could actually like do,
I love that. Okay, Patty, I'm going to ask you
out and see if it's something.
Send us the link.
I think I like that.
It was so funny. And you could make your avatar anything you wanted and stuff.
Could you
and
email that to the group?
It was just funny. And of course I found Chuck and Katie at the bar. No, they were just gathered in their group.
Well, and there is a bar at the poster. I mean, and I will probably be at that bar. Yes.
Yeah. But if you wanted to leave a poster and go visit with one of your friends, you could, right?
I love that. Can you send us that? Stacey just asked you in the chat, like
it's
whatever
Gather,
it is.
It's Gather Town.
I'm finding the link and I'm finding the link. I'll be in the chat box.
Yeah. It was
guys,
just
I just want to call attention to time because we are super close to the end and I actually have to feed my family sometime tonight. But I do want to see if there are any other questions for Christine.
Oh, and I'll just put my email to, like, you guys, if anybody has questions, you can just, it's pretty easy, Christine at Grasp Cancer. You can just email me if any questions come up. And also, if you're interested in like, like we would love for this to be, it's a very easily replicated, scalable model. So like if you have a colon rectal cancer conference and you want to do it, we will give you all the tools that you need. I would offer my help as well. And you can do it. So we can help in that way as well.
And Christine and everybody, if there's a big question about the program or something that you think would benefit other people to know too, don't just email it to Christine. That's why we have the big Google group, so that we can all continue to learn from it.
I'm just always the introvert, and if people don't want to make it big, that's the thing. If they want to email me personally, that's fine. But I know what you're saying.
That's okay.
I'm just always offering that as an option, because sometimes a big group is scary. So